What is up, guys? Welcome back to another FPL deadline stream for Fantasy Premier League Game Week 21. Let's get over to my team. I don't have it loaded up. So I already made my -8, which is good because it means I won't be waiting till the last second again to make a transfer. And it's already decided. Let me know what questions you may have. I can solve your, or I can try to help you. Do the best you can this week and pick the best team possible. So hello guys and welcome back. Let me make sure everything's good with the stream. Looks decent. What's up, Kobe? How's it going? Let's make sure I am live. Everything looks good. Nice, very nice. So starting off, I do want to talk about some captaincy. Really the only options for me are, Calvert-Lewin, Gundogan, and Grealish. Now with Calvert-Lewin, there's really not many statistics to go off of. Like, I don't know, because recently I would consider the games not really indicative of his, likelihood to score, because he's had a lot of injuries around him. Players like Richarlison and James, who really create a lot for him, haven't been there, or Everton have just been poor, and I would expect that to be different in this Newcastle matchup. So again, let's look at stats over the past month. Expected goals against for Newcastle is second worst, and that's probably one of the main reasons I brought him in over Watkins. I felt like these next two fixtures are very good against Newcastle and Leeds. Now Leeds have been doing a little bit better recently, so it's not terrible, but this Newcastle matchup is very good. And Calvert-Lewin's also more talismanic than Watkins is, so that definitely makes a difference. Hey, Nuclear Adams, how's it going? Who to start, Bamford or Souček? So, me personally, I would play Bamford. Now, keep in mind, I benched Souček last week, and I would... But it's Liverpool this time around. You know, it's much more difficult. Leicester have actually defended better in terms of expected goals against over the past month or so than Liverpool. So maybe it's a little bit different. I don't know where you'd go for this statistic, but I would be interested to see how many headed chances Liverpool concede on average, because that would make a huge difference. Like because that's how Souček gives most of his chances away. But with Bamford likely on penalties, I don't really know. This one's, I don't really expect much from either one. Don't Leicester have some injuries though? Don't Leicester have injuries? Ndidi. I think it's just Ndidi. Other than that, I don't expect a lot from them. Yeah, so Ndidi's out. Obviously, Vardy's out. And that's really the only significant injuries. I think I would lean towards Bamford. There's no real way to predict it, I wouldn't say. But as a longer-term option, I don't really love Bamford anymore, because honestly, the fact that he got subbed off early last game when they needed a goal, I feel like it says something. Now, it could just be, we don't know what's happening in practice. We don't know that, maybe he needed some rest. And maybe he's been feeling tired, and maybe that's something the manager was aware of. But I feel like it's not a good sign, the fact that he was subbed off early. So if you think from that perspective, if you really don't like that, then maybe you go Souček, because at least he's going to get 90 minutes. Wilson and Souček to Calvert-Lewin and Gundogan for a -4 hit. The thing I don't like about this move is you're getting rid of Souček, which really... it shouldn't be a priority transfer, but given the fact that he has a tough fixture this week and there are a lot of good midfield options, that may be your best way to go. The thing I like about this is you get Gundogan in, which is, it's not necessary, but that sounds good. He's not essential, because I don't really think anybody is, but he's about as close to that point as you can be right now, simply because of his value. And his numbers right now match up with the premium mids, and he's very good, most likely on penalties, this sort of thing for Man City. So I quite like Gundogan and Calvert-Lewin. Obviously, I brought him in for a hit, but I was only selling Martial. But still, over the next two, I like Calvert-Lewin. After that, I will be interested in potentially getting in Watkins, and I will go from 0 Villa to all of a sudden 3, considering I brought in Target and Grealish this week, and I sold both my Arsenal players, Saka and Holding. So yeah, I think I would do that, but can't say it's amazing. Should I get Mane and Watkins or Son and DCL? I'm going to have to say I would prefer, right away, I'm going to say I would prefer, I think Mane and Watkins. I mean, because, okay, Watkins and DCL are basically, like, equal value to me. So then I'm basically just deciding between Mane and Son. Like, I don't really think DCL to Watkins is a downgrade. I would take the Mane option and take the chance with him if you're already interested in him in this case. Son isn't a bad option. I'm just not necessarily sure I would use a transfer on bringing him in, given there's some uncertainty there. But if you have him, definitely don't sell Son, because we don't know what's going to happen without Kane. He could be better. He's likely going to be on penalties. I still like him as an option. I went with Grealish instead, but I think Son's still right up there. There's a bunch of decent midfield options. I think if you're still like looking to use the KDB money in midfield, like let's say you want to get rid of Souček or Saka, like I did. Like I went with Grealish number 1, but I think the midfield options go like, as far as from my opinion, I think it's Grealish number 1, and then right behind him you got, it's probably Mane and Son in the same category, and then Harvey Barnes. Gundogan. If you don't have Gundogan, I would bring him in. But then after that, it's like Grealish and then Son and Mane probably tied, and then Harvey Barnes. Does he come right after there? He comes before Madison. I know that. I'm not too interested in Madison. And then I think that would probably be the order. But I like all these options right now. Yeah, and maybe Salah. You could throw Salah in there combined with the Mane thing. Mane and Son. I feel like that's a toss up between those. Who would you captain, Mo or Sterling? I think I would captain Salah, and I think that's a lot because I'm just worried about Sterling's rotation risk for this game. He did just play 90 minutes, and I don't know. I just don't feel like they necessarily need to start him against Sheffield United, or at least that may be how Pep thinks about it. Again, speculating Pep and his rotation is difficult, but I think that's the way I would go with that. I'd go Salah. How's it going, Harvey? Good to see you back. Captain between Bruno and Gundogan. Well, I'm going Gundogan, so I have to give you my answer for that. I mean, his numbers have just been better. They're both on penalties. He's got a better matchup, potentially. We don't really know how it's going to play out with Arsenal, but for me, it's Gundogan all the way. No, I'm not going to replace Kane. So the thing is, like, I made my transfers. I brought in Target for Holding. I brought in Grealish for Saka, and I brought in Calvert-Lewin for whatever his name is. Yeah, that I literally have no idea. His name is Martial. That's his name. The reason I haven't sold Kane is I don't really have to. Like, let's say Kane doesn't play, which is the most likely outcome. Then Reece James will come in. Who knows if he plays or not? And then I'll simply get Souček in off the bench, which isn't amazing. There is some chance that Reece James plays. We just don't know the whole Chelsea situation. I'm not really expecting much from this slot. But Kane, simply we haven't got an actual injury update yet. And that's what I'm waiting for. Considering how much I like Kane as an option, I decided to delay getting rid of him 1 week. And probably, I've already taken one price fall. I'll probably take another one. Because for the slight chance that they're like, okay, he's going to miss, so what is this, the 30th now? If they're like, okay, he's only going to be out for like a week, including the time he's already done. If he's only going to miss a week of actual calendar days, then he'll miss this game and then the game against Chelsea, but then he'll be back against West Brom. And that would be very nice. Other than that, I will probably sell him just simply because... maybe not, because I already have so much money in the bank, right? I could go ahead and upgrade somewhere else, and I potentially wouldn't need to sell him for this long, but I don't know if it's going to work out like that. It's not like me desperately trying to keep him. I'm not too interested in just holding him for like Gameweek 25 when he's back or whenever it is. But if I don't really have to sell him, I guess I may just not do so. I'll have to look at next week and what the fixtures are like. But basically, I'm just gonna give myself some time on Kane, which is something I rarely do with injured players. But I'm just gonna see what happens because it was basically just speculation. They're like, oh, he hurt both of his ankles. I think he's gonna be out for weeks. That's the way I interpreted what happened. But we probably won't get news on it, till way after the deadline. I'm just gonna keep him in though, see what happens. There's always the slight chance that Mourinho's, fibbing again. I don't know why I said fibbing. Sound like an old lady. Souček or Saka? For me, I would start Saka. I think. Oh, man. I'm worried about Saka playing left back, though. Actually, I don't know, man. I think I may lean towards Souček. This one is another one that's very hard to predict. We don't know where Saka's going to play. We don't know how bad Liverpool's going to play. If you watch my reaction stream, I was very interested in getting a player like Trent Alexander-Arnold or Robertson. That has changed because Liverpool simply have too many energies. They have too many energies at center back, not injuries. Because, but it's going to be Henderson and Phillips, I believe, at center back. That's not very good. And that doesn't mean they won't keep clean sheets. I think against Brighton they have a decent chance to do so, but I don't know. I can't really pay $7.5 million for a player with those two center backs. They do, they still have decent attacking threat, and their expected goals and expected assists shows that. But I don't think Target's going to be that far behind, so I brought him in instead. Also saves my money in the bank, so I can still use it on whoever, whenever. Mahrez or James, or I see we're talking about James Rodriguez. I would start James. It's such a good matchup. I would probably find a way to start both though, just because they both have very good fixtures. And if you have Mahrez, if you already have him in your team, you should probably just take the risk and hope that he's started. I took a hit on Grealish, so I think that sounds good. He's such a great long-term option. If you're not going to wildcard soon, it makes more sense to bring in Grealish. If you're planning on holding him, for the next, maybe even to the end of the season, which is what I'm hoping to be able to do with him, because he's got the games in hand as well. We can go and see the Aston Villa have games yet to play because they've had so many postponed. So that should be able to cover like maybe some blanks, give him an extra double in there. He's got this game against Tottenham and Everton yet to play that aren't scheduled in. So he's got some doubles incoming, and that goes for all the Villa players, obviously. So that's one reason I brought in two. And I also brought in Calvert-Lewin, who has the same thing. Calvert-Lewin has Man City and Aston Villa games in hand. So, yeah, and there's a chance that Man City will have a double game week before everybody else does in Game Week 24. Most people or most teams will have it in Game Week 26, but Man City have a lot to go. And I think I forgot exactly why that is. I mean, they only have two, but for some reason Game Week 24 is a possibility for them. I don't know. I saw it on Ben Kralen's Twitter. There's a good chance, or it would be a 50-50 chance, that if that game is played, it would be played against Newcastle. So a little slight boost for Calvert-Lewin there, potentially getting a game week in double game week 24. So Nuclear Adams asks, who should I captain between Diaz, Cancelo, and DCL? Right now it's on Cancelo. Yeah, I would go Cancelo over Diaz. I know that it's more of a risk in terms of starting and minutes, but Cancelo's just got so much more upside. Realistically, you can't, on any given week, you can't expect an attacking return from Diaz. And then, so for me, it's between Cancelo and Calvert-Lewin. I think if I had to choose, I don't think they should bench Cancelo, but there's always that risk there. I think I would rather go with Calvert-Lewin. And I'm not sure why. That's just what my gut is telling me. I think it's because I'm worried about Sheffield United scoring against Man City after their pretty decent display against Manchester United. I know United weren't great, don't get me wrong, but Sheffield United will know to only really focus on set pieces, and I'm worried they could get a goal that way against City. Now, City have kept so many clean sheets in a row at this point that they've kept 4 in a row. But still, I don't know, man. I would just go Calvert-Lewin. They're right up there. I think most of the time people would say the forwards have the higher upside, but I don't think that's the case here. So I could see either one, really. But I'm leaning towards him personally. You have a good week, Harveen. Wan-Bissaka Tedinia from -4. If you need some, injection of points pretty soon, then maybe. But the thing is that Wan-Bissaka has decent fixtures longer term. I will agree that over time you're going to want to sell Wan-Bissaka. He lacks attacking threat. United have been pretty disappointing defensively. They've got some center back worries, like Eric Bailly doesn't always play with Maguire, and that sort of hurts them a lot. So I think you want to sell him at some point. I think potentially that's a move you do this week, but just be aware, like, West Brom, Newcastle, Southampton, 3 of the next 5 are pretty good fixtures where they could keep clean sheets. Out of those 3, I think I would play. I would play Bamford for sure. It's not the best matchup, but he's still got a decent chance for penalties. He's still the striker that's done very well this season, and Leicester's probably a little better matchup than some of these other guys. Between Saka and Souček, I don't know. I don't know if I can really decide. I think I would go. I would go Souček if I had to pick one. I think, and I've changed my mind on that because before I was set like Saka's an every week kind of player, but that sort of changed. I gotta sneeze. It sort of changed after you know what? I sold Saka, and my reasoning for doing so was because I'm like, I'm going to put his recent success all down to his fixtures. When we take a look back at Arsenal, we can look at them as being in great form recently, or we can also look at their success simply as a result of them having amazing fixtures. They played Brighton, West Brom, Crystal Palace, Newcastle, Southampton. All those teams are struggling right now. That's an amazing run of fixtures looking back on it. Going into that, we weren't necessarily sure how good that was. Some of those teams were performing a little better, but they hit those teams at the perfect time. So I think the fixtures really gave Saka some success there. There is some chance of him playing left back. He did perfectly well there last time. He can get some attacking returns from there. But that's the way I've sort of there's a decent chance, I believe, that that's at least the case, that the only reason he did well is because of the fixtures. So I just, considering the fact that I wanted to get rid of one of my midfielders and they're all good, I'm like, okay, I'm going to just bank on that being the case, and I'm going to sell him. And Souček's been a little better, more consistently throughout the entire season, so that's why I would consider him a slightly better option, I suppose. It's mainly because Saka, not only did he just have good fixtures then, but now he has bad fixtures. It's not just mediocre, it's pretty bad, so that's why I sold him. Hey, Sultan, how's it going? Do you think Cancelo will play? It's going to be the same thing I typically say. We don't really know. I could see the narrative this time for him to be rested because, like you said, there are so many games close by, and that's one reason I'm avoiding captaining him. In case you don't know, Pep did say that he's going to start Gundogan today or play him. He's like, he's definitely going to be played, and he's got subbed off, before 60 minutes last game. So there's never really any doubt about that. But that's one good thing about Gundogan is that he's pretty much guaranteed to start. Cancelo, I just couldn't quite take the risk with him in terms of is he going to start or not. I think he should. He's always got the 80% chance. It's probably higher than that, but that's just what I feel like it is every game week. It's 5:23 in the morning here, so I feel like I don't have any energy. I feel like I'm just the way my voice comes out is just dull. Pretty sure I did a mistake. I bought Mane, Gundogan, and Brewster for Jones, Rafinha, and Wilson. I don't necessarily think it's a mistake. I feel like there could have been a way to do that without the Brewster transfer necessarily. I don't know, maybe instead of doing the Brewster to the Wilson to Brewster move, maybe you simply just got something cheaper. Instead of Mane, maybe you simply got Son or something like that, just to save yourself the extra -4 there. But those don't sound bad. You got in Mane and Gundogan, and those are good options. So hopefully it works out for you. I don't think that's terrible though. I wouldn't feel bad. I would have some hope, going into the game week for those players you brought in. Play Wan-Bissaka or Souček, mate. Also to captain Sterling, Son, or Barnes. I wouldn't captain Barnes. I think out of those, I would captain Son simply because I just don't trust Sterling that much. There is some rotation risk, as I said. There's some congested fixtures. Didn't he just play 90 minutes? Did Sterling just play 90 minutes? I said that earlier. I'm not sure if it's true. I would expect Sterling to still start. I'm not trying to say he won't, but there's still just more of a risk there. He's got good fitness. He can play 90 minutes back to back. Don't get me wrong, but if they were gonna bench him upcoming, like this would make sense, right? Sheffield United, they should look at that and be like, okay, that's no trouble. But we got Burnley and Liverpool coming up, and then Tottenham. Tottenham's a good break. There's a week between that one, but Burnley and Liverpool, they may want to save him for those games, so we just don't know. But maybe Sterling's lack of physicality may make him, maybe that makes him a poor option for Burnley. I don't know. I know Mahrez tends to do pretty well against them. So your team now is these players. What do I think? I like the Areola pick. I think that sounds good. I like the 3 defenders with Digne in there now. Gives you a good fixture this week. I think those are nice, and you weren't scared of the Grealish-Watkins double up, which is nice. I always get some people that are like that are always hesitant to bring a certain player in simply because they already have one other player, like one other attacker from that team or one other defender from that team, and they're like, oh, I don't want to double up. And it's like, if that's the, if you independently look at both players and you're like, oh, I want this player, and oh, I want this player too, but then you're like, oh no, I can't get both of them because I already have one from that team. Unless it's like to fit a double game week strategy or something, I don't really like that approach of like, oh, I already have one, so that's that slot taken. I was very close to simply going Target in, Grealish in, and Watkins in. But the Newcastle fixture, I just like too much. So I hope it works out this week. But there's a little bit of uncertainty in my mind about Calvert-Lewin. I don't think I'm going to stream for the City game, Kobe. Probably not. Maybe, though. I'm not sure what I'll be doing today. I wasn't planning on it. I mean, that would be interesting, especially if I captain Gundogan. I have the triple up, obviously. So I'm definitely invested in that. So bench 2 and play 1, we got Rafinha, Souček, and Target. Bench 2 and play 1. Okay, I haven't really thought about this because Target's just been guaranteed in my team because of my poor defensive matchups. So Rafinha plays Leicester and Souček plays Liverpool. I think Rafinha is probably last on the list. I think then it's Souček and then it's Target. I think I would play Target. I think, Target's positioning last game really did motivate me a lot, like in terms of how far he got forward. Let's actually go take a look at Target's numbers. So let's go. Let's just go to last game. Let's go to last game first. Against Burnley, again, Aston Villa were unlucky this game. They gave up an expected goals of 0.72, which means that they had a decent chance of keeping a clean sheet. And if we go to Aston Villa, I know he had a shot on target at least. Target did. And he had expected goals of 0.6 from that shot. And it was a shot in the box from a sharp angle. He hit it right at the keeper, but he struck it well. But he had the highest expected assist on the team last game, with only the one key pass that was an assist. But again, Target's like, he was sending in a decent amount of crosses, and if they just don't reach the player, they don't get counted as a key pass, even if they were close to being a goal. Like if it just barely missed somebody's foot, or somebody barely, the defender barely beats the attacker to the cross, that sort of thing. Doesn't count in the statistics, but I thought his positioning was pretty good. Decent long-term fixtures, 2 games in hand. I'm like 4.7. I can't really say no to Target just yet. Not that the money is really an issue right now. Kobe, if you have Kane, I would start him. I think that's the way I would look at it, and just hope that. But I mean, you're not really expecting. It's not like you're expecting Kane to play, but just start him. I'm trying to think of an analogy, but basically, I just think it's the best strategy because if he's fit, he's more likely to. The most likely outcome, obviously, he doesn't play at all. I would say the next most likely outcome is that he's just not that hurt and he's able to play. Regardless, it depends on who your first sub is. For you, it's Antonio. I don't know. I guess the risk would be like, because we're not concerned if he doesn't play at all, then obviously Antonio would come in. The risk would be what are the chances of Kane coming on as a sub? I don't think that's likely to happen. I think they wouldn't risk him, but considering the fact that I don't think Antonio is a bad matchup this week, you're okay with simply starting Antonio. But I would probably throw Kane in there somewhere just in case. It's like the 1% chance that he does start. Because if he does start against Brighton, you probably want him. But again, I'm not expecting him to start this week. I do think Rashford to Grealish is a good move. I personally would try to find somewhere else to upgrade, which is what I did. I upgraded Saka instead because Rashford has these fixtures. Honestly, I kind of like all four of these after Arsenal. And again, Rashford's been good this season to the point where, look, I've sucked at predicting when he's going to do well. But he scored his last two games that he scored in were against Leicester and Wolves. Not easy fixtures. And then Sheffield United, okay, that's an easy fixture. And West Ham, they've defended pretty well this season. And before that, well, both of these were easy fixtures. But you can see they're pretty well distributed between medium difficulty fixtures, kind of difficult, and then some easy ones. So against Arsenal, I would say there's a decent enough chance. But then we see some, I would consider Southampton a pretty good fixture. Everton's probably like mid-table. They're more of an attacking focused team. I take that back. Recently, Ancelotti has sort of made them more defensive focused, which is one worry I have for Calvert-Lewin. But anyway, we'll see what happens over the next couple of weeks. But these were some decent fixtures, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to force myself to keep him for these fixtures. I don't love him as an option. I agree if you say he's looked terrible recently in terms of from an FPL perspective. The one thing that bothers me about Rashford is he doesn't. This is almost disrespectful to him to compare his finishing to Gundogan's. The way Gundogan scored his 2 goals, he got the ball, he picked out an open piece of net to shoot the ball into, right? And he just quickly fired the ball. Like, there was no... When Rashford's about to shoot most of the time, and I saw an ESPN alert where they talked about Rashford being a predictable shooter, and like Ole is working with him on this, like, to be less predictable. I think one of Rashford's issue is when he's about to shoot, I almost want to stand up and demonstrate, but I don't have enough room, just because I put myself against this wall. This is him. He maybe looks like, but he takes a little touch out to set up his shot, and then he does like his whole little, he sets up a step, then he has a long wind up, and then he shoots. Whereas, if you're in the box and you have a little bit of time, you need to just look up, pick your spot, and just like hit it. It takes away power off your shot because you can't get as much power, but it gets the ball past the defenders quicker because you're just shooting it quicker. You're just getting rid of it quicker. Rashford gets a lot of shots blocked, and the keeper's always allowed to prepare for the shot and sees it coming. I think those are his. I think if he just had that little more, would get the shot off a little quicker a lot of times, I think he would score so many more goals, because I do think he's a good player. But watching him do that every time is kind of frustrating as an owner. Yeah, I would start Cash over Wan-Bissaka. Adams and Rafinha, DDC on Barnes, or just do one of them. It depends on who you have to play instead this week, because there are like a lot of bad fixtures. But if you're looking to play Souček instead, you could maybe just play him instead of the one. I think I would do Adams into DCL though if you just had to choose one. Bench Justin or Target. If you had to, I think I would bench. Justin just because I feel like Target's had a little more attacking threat recently. But like you said, I don't think it should matter for you. Which choice do you prefer? Grealish in for a -4 or play one of Justin, Souček, Rafinha this week? Well, if you're gonna play one, I'm leaning towards Justin out of those guys. Grealish in for a -4. If you could really use Grealish long term, I think you can go for him. I think you kind of bring him in. I like him for the Southampton game. Now, I don't consider myself the best at predicting somebody for just one game, but I think it's a good matchup for him. If you could use him in the long term, I say take the hit. Who should I get for under 7.2 million? In which position, Lucas? Oh, yeah, okay, midfielders. I'm going to say not Madison, not Saka, because some bad fixtures. I don't think you go Bowen. I think this is really between Barnes and Souček. Let's pull it up because I don't know too much about these guys in terms of their recent statistics, especially Mr. Barnes. I haven't been too interested in a Leicester player without Mr. Jamie Vardy there. So let's pull up. Let's just go to Leicester. Let's see what they've been up to recently. And well, hopefully I'll be able to demonstrate through statistics why I like Barnes over Maddison. First of all, Barnes has, over the course of the season, Barnes has a much higher expected goals per 90 minutes. Maddison does beat him in expected assists per 90 minutes, though. But let's go to the past little bit here. Let's go since January 1st, actually. So expected goals per 90 minutes. We can see Harvey Barnes 0.4, Maddison 0.24. I quite like these numbers for Barnes, actually, over the past 4 games. Let's add another game in there just to see what happens. So I think Barnes and Souček, I wouldn't be able to make a clear decision. If you need to play him this week, though, I would go ahead and go Barnes. If you can't decide between like a more short-term or more long-term option, if you need the short-term, I would always take the short-term. Like if he's going to play for you, if you need some good matchups right away, because longer-term, there are injuries that can happen. But the main thing that can happen is like what you think are good fixtures, all of a sudden those teams start playing better, and maybe the player you have, dips a little bit in form. All of a sudden you're like, oh, I don't like this fixture anymore. So I would prefer short term over long term. So I think Barnes there probably be the way to go. But yeah, we can see Maddison barely beats him for expected assists per 90 minutes. But Barnes, pretty handily, not handily, but compared to the other statistic, he beats him by more. Barnes also, he just gets a higher quantity of shots. That's probably the main reason. I think Maddison's a good player. I think he'll finish some chances. He'll get some points, but I just don't like him quite as much. And let's pull up target statistics, actually. Since I did bring him in, let's take a look at what he's been up to. Let's just pull up Aston Villa, actually. Oh, well. So, Matt Target, obviously not much goal threat, but expected assists per 90 minutes over the past 6 is 0.11. So that's like an assist every 10 games, which isn't great. But I feel like a lot of that came from this last game where he really impressed me. Let's go to their previous game. And again, Aston Villa have had some games here where I feel like they haven't looked good. They also had to play Man City, and they've had some tough fixtures over the stretch. Let's see who they played in this time, because I expected those numbers to be a little better. But okay, yeah, this is what I looked at yesterday. So they played Chelsea, Manchester United, Man City, and then finally they played Newcastle and Burnley, in which he's gotten an assist both times. They finally have some good fixtures again, and he's getting some points. So I quite like the look of target. Let's see what happens, though. Hey, Adam FPL, how's it going? I'm captaining Gundogan. If I had Salah, I think I would still lean towards Gundogan. I'm not necessarily saying Gundogan's the best captaincy option. I like the look of, Salah's up there. But Grealish and Son as well, I think, are great options. I only have Grealish out of those 3, though. And Gundogan. I don't necessarily think you should bring Salah in for a hit. It depends on who you're going to sell, though, and it depends on your team. But I decided Grealish over Salah. And now, if Grealish just doesn't exist, would I have went Salah or Mane? Probably, maybe, right? It's not a bad option. I don't necessarily think it's a bad idea to get in a midfielder for a hit. Who you get in, I just don't know, because there's a lot of decent options that all have uncertainty. You got Mane and Salah not playing well at Liverpool. Salah's statistics look much worse than Mane's at the moment, with his expected goals per 90 minutes pretty disappointing to me. It's like 0.33 over the past, little bit here, and that's not great for Salah. He can still do something with that. Obviously, it's not horrendous, but I would expect more. But Liverpool haven't been able to create that much. We have Grealish. I feel like he doesn't have that much uncertainty, but But after this week, the fixtures for the next 2 or 3 are just not amazing. That's probably his one downside. With Son, we have uncertainty because of the Kane injury. How are Tottenham going to play? And then I feel like in general, there's always uncertainty about how the Leicester guys will play. But I don't think Salah in for a hit's a bad idea. I would just say make sure you consider all the alternatives. I went for Grealish personally, but everybody has a different situation. Wow, Kobe, you haven't had one since Gameweek 14. That's actually crazy. Like, assuming that you picked pretty decent players each time, it's still unlucky. Like, even if you feel like you messed up, you could just get lucky and get at least one. So yeah, it's pretty unlucky. Yeah, it's 5:40 a.m., Jack. Yeah, I set my alarm for like 4:30 a.m., but it's all good. We got 5:40. We got 20 minutes until the deadline. So yeah, just be aware of the deadline. Don't let it crash down on you. Do I have Grealish and no one good on the bench or Barnes? Okay, so you're worried about transfers. Is no one good on the bench? If that means nobody playing at all, and this is more of a long-term setup we're talking about, I think you almost have to go Barnes there because we got doubles and blanks, and there's always the whole COVID situation. So you probably want some players on your bench that are at least decent. It sucks that you have to sacrifice things, but I think if it's a long-term deal where you're like, oh, I'm going to have a terrible bench that almost aren't going to play at all, longer term, I think you can't really afford to do that right now. So replacing Reguilon, there are obviously Cancelo and Stones and Diaz. If you don't have two Man City defenders already, I would go for them. I could have chose between any of the defenders this week. I had so much money in the bank when I sold Holding. I could have got Robertson or Trent. I went Target. So naturally, I've got to say Target's right up there with the options. The other options would be Ben Chilwell. Who else is there? There's Robertson and Trent. But they sort of have bad fixtures. I think it's between Target, Chilwell, or Luka Digne. And deciding between the two can be tough. Everton would be more focused on the next 2 game weeks. Target would be longer term. Both of them have games in hand, though. And Chilwell, well, I'm just not so sold on him because we just don't know what Chelsea are going to do. But at least in the future, he could be good. Or maybe you take the chance with him if you like the way Chelsea look, or if you like Tuchel. I don't know how you say his name, by the way. I haven't heard anybody's pronunciation that I really trust to say his name. So, yeah. I'm playing Kane because, well, really, I'm just waiting to hear news on him. I'm not expecting him to play. But considering the fact that I'm holding him and he's injured, I'm like, well, I might as well put him in my starting lineup in case he does play. And that's the only reason why. But I'm sure James or Souček will come in, whichever one plays. Well, Souček will play, but if James plays, he'll come in. Yeah, it's just a little protection in case, I don't know, Mourinho's lying about it, which I don't think he is. I think Kane's hurt. But we haven't got a fair assessment of his injury yet in terms of, Mourinho was basically like, I don't really know, but we assume he's going to be out for a lot of weeks. Which is probably going to be accurate. But for now, I've kept him. So I feel like if I have him, I have to throw him in there in case he does play. Like, even if he comes off the bench, it's still Brighton against Kane. And I feel like that's a decent matchup. So, me personally, I'm going Gundogan, but I don't have Salah or Son as cap in my team at all, Usama. So, I'm going to have to say that's really just too close to call. I wouldn't go Calvert-Lewin. I'll eliminate that one. He's good to have. I just personally don't trust him enough. I mean, I brought him in for this week. I think it's a good matchup, but Everton sometimes play a little bit too defensive recently. So that's one reason why I would probably lean towards the other 3. They've been more established so far this season. I think I would avoid Salah. If I really have to choose between these guys, I would go with your gut to go with the rest because it's so close. But if I have to choose, I would say avoid Salah. His numbers have not been amazing recently. He's still Salah, so it's so tough. He's been my highest scoring FPL player of all time. So it's so hard for me to go against him. But West Ham have defended pretty well this season. If we go to the statistics recently, West Ham have been good this season. So I think Son makes the most sense here. There's a good chance he's on penalties. We don't know what's going to happen without Kane there, but Yeah, I feel like there's a little more certainty that, I mean, I would still expect Spurs to be able to create chances because they have such a good fixture. So hopefully they won't need Kane for that. Hopefully for your sake anyway. And then Son will still get some chances to him, and he can always finish them because he's a good finisher. So West Ham a little bit above average in terms of expected goals against this season. Right there ahead of Liverpool, but they're basically the same. If we go to recent times, they have had some good fixtures, so these numbers may be skewed a little bit, but still, they've defended very well, I believe. Yeah, we can see West Ham over the past month or so. West Ham have been the second best defensively in terms of expected goals against. Of course, first is Manchester City killing everybody. But yeah, that looks pretty good for West Ham. They haven't quite played a team like Liverpool, though, so maybe that changes things up a little bit. Yeah, Grealish definitely does need to avoid a yellow today. Digne and DCL in for Wan-Bissaka and Martial. I think that sounds good. Yeah, I mean, I was tired of Martial. I had to sell him. I don't see much coming for him, even in the good fixtures. So if Grealish gets a yellow, is he suspended? The one reason I guess I'm not too worried about it is because it is West Ham. That's not like an amazing fixture. So it's not like he's going to be missing a West Brom or something. And I have some decent fixtures next week, I believe. I mean, I could play Souček and Soufal if I really wanted to. They play Villa. If they don't have Grealish, that would be decent enough. I couldn't really play Reece James. Obviously, I play the Man City guys. I could still play Target. It may help Target a little bit. He may drift forward a little more if Grealish is out to help create from him. Yeah, I could always just sell Kane. And I feel like I have some decent fixtures even if Grealish is out. But hoping that doesn't happen. Yeah, who knows? Yeah, I mean, Oliver Berg hat-trick is pretty likely, but that's always the case. I think Cancelo is a decent enough captain option. I always forget to mention him up there, like with the best captaincy options, but I guess I'm just have an anti-defender bias. Not that I haven't captained defenders in the past. Triple captain Shane Duffy got 1 point 2 seasons ago, but yeah, I love Cancelo when he starts. Like, there's just that little doubt in my mind that he won't start, but he's just such a good attacking threat from an FPL perspective. The way he gets forward, he's basically playing midfield at the moment, and it's just beautiful to see as an owner. Souček, Adams, or Justin? Well, Mr. T-Tac, I think I would start. I don't think I would start Adams, which kind of sucks because that's your striker. I would lean towards, I think it's still Justin or Adams. I don't love any of these guys necessarily. But I think Southampton have a tough matchup. I think I would go Justin. I don't know. I can't really play Souček against Liverpool. It's not terrible. He'll probably, I don't know if I say probably, but he may come in for me. I think I would go Justin, though. It's kind of a tough one. Salah and Barnes, or Mane and Grealish. I think I like Mane and Grealish a little bit. I think the jump up from Barnes to Grealish is better than the jump up from Mane to Salah. So I quite like Mane and Grealish there. Which is, it's so weird for me to be advising against Salah. Like, I still don't think you can go too wrong with him, but I think those are, bringing in Salah and Stones, again, these are players that you can at least trust to play 90 minutes, and they're on the best teams. Salah's the talisman for Liverpool. It's hard to go against Salah, but I kind of did it this week. For the first time in a long time, I should bet it against Salah in a way, because I had the chance to get him in, and I chose Grealish over him. I think I would start Antonio over Bamford. Liverpool with their defensive injuries, Antonio's looked good. Bamford subbed off early last game when Leeds needed a goal. I think these are all things that point me to Antonio. Start Holding or Soufal. We're talking about terrible matchups here. This is a decision I would have made if I wouldn't have brought in Target. Maybe, you didn't even ask this, but maybe you even take a hit to get rid of one of these guys if you feel like you can also get some long-term advantage out of it. You can get some short-term, maybe they keep up with him. Like Target could potentially, if he keeps a clean sheet, the other two get 2 points. Boom, all of a sudden you got a better long-term options for no cost, because that cancels out the -4. But if you had to play one of them, I think I would go with Rob Holding here. I don't know. I just can't advise playing a defender against Liverpool. And the one reason I would play Soufal, on the other hand, would be because he has more attacking threat. I don't feel like Holding has any. I find these games tough to predict whenever you're trying to predict which little team has a better chance of upsetting a big team. I don't know. I think I've almost changed my mind on this. I think I may actually go Soufal over him. You got a little more attacking threat. You got Liverpool not doing well. You're at home. What was the other thing? I mean, if you look at them as both good teams, a lot of these Liverpool games recently have been like low-scoring affairs where it's not like they've had a lot of chances. But I say that Liverpool have just missed a lot in some games too. So I really don't know is the answer. Hey, Blues, how's it going? Would you take Souček? Take out Souček and get in Son, bench Bamford, play Antonio and DCL. I think that sounds decent enough. There are a lot of midfield options to potentially look at instead of Son. But I also don't necessarily think I don't know, making the move to bench Bamford. I think I would probably lean towards Holding in this case. Like just holding the players, not Rob Holding, that is. But, the thing about it is that if Son provides you some long-term value, this could really be a good transfer for you. But Souček also isn't bad longer term. And there's just so much money to be spent right now. I'm sure you have like 6.9 in the bank. And, yeah, I'm not really sure, but I wouldn't say you have to. Would I do it? Maybe. I can't quite put myself in your shoes, but it's tough. Rafinha to Barnes for a -4. Yeah, I think it's fair enough. Again, I would probably go Grealish if you could, or another mid, but and obviously if you don't have Gundogan, get him in. But yeah, Barnes is fine, and I'm not a huge fan of Rafinha from an FPL perspective. Get DCL in for Martial for a hit. Yes, that's exactly what I did actually. So of course I have to agree 100%. Martial, he has some decent fixtures coming up. Again, a lot of times now I found myself saying that because a lot of these teams don't necessarily have like an amazing run of just straight good fixtures or straight bad. So there's always going to be some caveats. But am I thinking of bringing in Robertson or Trent? I think I will for next week. I've thought about it. I really have. And I have Reece James still sitting there to sell. I have Harry Kane sitting there waiting to sell. I'm going to see what happens with them both. I'll probably sell one next week. And James to Trent or Robbo could be the way to go. They play West Ham this week. The issue is they're defenders that they have to play with. If they defend well this week in a reasonably tough matchup against West Ham, going into Brighton, that's who they play, right? Yes, that looks like a good fixture, but longer term, I'm not sure if I love them. There's not many amazing options defensively, though, so I'm not sure. I don't think I will, to be honest. I think, first of all, next week, I think I'll probably have to deal with Kane. It's probably the most likely thing to happen. And then we're looking at Liverpool playing who do they play after Brighton? Then Liverpool play Man City, so I won't be able to bring them in that week. And then after that they play Leicester. I wouldn't want to bring them in that week, so it's just not going to happen, I don't think. Should I bring in Salah or Smith Rowe? Yeah, I think you should at least upgrade Smith Rowe. Bad fixtures coming up. Whether you get Salah or Grealish, Son is up to you. But yeah, I think that sounds like a good move. A lot of these Arsenal. I mean, I got rid of both my Arsenal this week. I think it sounds pretty good. Would you say it's worth taking -4 hit to bring Cancelo over Soufal? I honestly think so. And the reason is, if you watch the Man City games, Cancelo's attacking threat is ridiculous. Now, when is he going to get the points? We don't exactly know. If he plays in the next two, you would expect at least one good return. At least I would. Longer term, I feel like this move is good. The one issue you have is if he's benched in one of these games here, all of a sudden you only get one of these games, and what you get out of him is a Liverpool, Tottenham, Arsenal, West Ham, Manchester United matchups, and that's not great. I still think I would lean towards making the transfer and playing the short-term matchups here and hoping he starts. It's kind of risky, but you could also get like double-digit hauls out of this guy pretty easily. So I would lean towards taking the hit, I think, and taking the chance. I just like Cancelo. Chilwell or Castagna next week. We have to see what Chelsea do. We really have to see what Chelsea do. Let's look at Leicester's fixtures, though. They don't look great. They play Leeds and Fulham. I think if Chilwell shows any signs of promise, you go Chilwell. I'm worried about Castagna. I'm worried about if they play Pereira and Justin and bench Castagna. I think Chilwell is the favorite right now, but okay, longer term, they do have some decent fixtures, Leicester. I think for now, though, I'm leaning towards Chilwell. Okay, we don't know what formation Chelsea are going to play. The 4-2-2-2 is possible. That maybe isn't the best for Chilwell. They did start off with a wingback formation, and that would be great for Chilwell. So we just have to see what happens. But right now, I like him over the Leicester guy. A little bit more uncertainty around Castagna, I feel like. Who you choose to be captain, DCL, Foden, or Grealish? I would go Grealish, I think. I can't make myself captain Calvert-Lewin this week. I simply can't do it. I feel like there's a little bit too much uncertainty about how defensive Everton will play. I did bring him in for a -4, though. So, yeah. I would go Grealish. Foden, a little bit too much rotation risk. I think he should start. I would just be happy owning him, though. I couldn't put that much trust in him. Let's look at Foden's numbers recently, actually. Let's go to Man City. By the way, Gundogan didn't really get, like, the most chances last time. Like, it wasn't, I don't know. What's going on here? It's not working. But he finished the chances he did get. Captain Son or Gundogan, I think. I'm not really sure. I'm leaning towards Gundogan right now. I feel like there's a little bit less uncertainty there. And other than that, their numbers are very similar, though. They really are. Let's go to Man City. So Nuclear Adams, your question was, since Henderson and Fabinho is out, does that make Antonio the best captain option, or Robbo deal? I don't think the Robbo playing third center back is going to be an option. I just don't see them doing that. It doesn't make Antonio the best captaincy option, though. Henderson's still going to be a pretty decent center back. They will have the one weak link there, though. The issue I have is I don't feel like Antonio still has the highest upside. I feel like he's looking at a max of 1 goal. I mean, we could see them fall apart like they did against Aston Villa, Liverpool, that is. But, yeah, 2 minutes, by the way, 2 minutes to the deadline. I don't think Antonio is the best captaincy option. So, Phil Foden, these numbers are actually pretty good. I like him when he plays. Maybe this is just a gut call for me, but I don't trust Foden, and that's just the way it is. Justin or Chilwell. I trust Justin more to play 90 minutes consistently. And I like Leicester defensively. I'm leaning towards Justin simply because the next 2 fixtures I like. And then after that, because Chelsea plays Spurs next week, I don't love that. But they're both great options. I would lean towards Justin, maybe Chilwell after these next 2 game weeks. So 2 minutes left. I'm going to leave my team as it is, I think. Gundogan in. Let's go back to these Man City statistics. So expected goals per 90 minutes. Let's sort by recently. Since Foden does have good stats, though. But it's not that I would worry about him starting necessarily. Him being subbed off is more of the issue, I would say, at this point in time. So over the past month or so, we can see Gundogan. Look at this expected goals per 90 minutes, 0.55. I mean, he beats Sterling, he beats Torres, he beats Foden, he beats Bernardo, he beats Mahrez. The only people he doesn't beat are Aguero and De Bruyne. And he's got some creativity as well. Sterling's overall numbers are better because he significantly beats Gundogan for creativity. But still, the fact that Gundogan has more like really overall goal threat, then Sterling is amazing. Sterling's still a good option. The thing about Sterling is that he just plays wide a lot. Like, in any given phase of play, Man City have at least one player that's like just providing extreme width a lot of times all the way to the touchline, and sometimes that player is Sterling, but that player is never going to get in, and that's good. So that should be the deadline, and that will lock in our teams. Let's see. It looks like they're giving a little more time. They didn't stop right on the clock. Mane and Chilwell, or Salah and Justin. Oh man. I'm gonna say Salah and Justin. Yeah. The thing about it is Salah and Mane is too close to call. I tend to always just go Salah just because of penalties. It makes it so much easier. I just never get Mane. I have had Mane though when I double up. Other than that, it's always Salah for me. So yeah, there goes the deadline. It has officially passed. The first game is Everton versus Newcastle. I would expect some decent things from Everton. The one issue I have is, again, they've been a little bit too defensive-minded recently for me to really trust them enough for captaincy or something like that. If we throw Calvert-Lewin here with the expected goals per 90 minutes over the past month or so, now he has a small sample size, but still, you can see that he's below. Calvert-Lewin's below John Stones for expected goals per 90 minutes. Since December 26th. That is how good Man City have been. And Cancelo is above Richarlison, so this is significant stuff. Rodri is above Sigurdsson and James for expected goals. I mean, this is just destruction. I mean, obviously we're comparing on to Man City here, but that's just that's not even fair. When Rodri has more expected goals than your creative midfielders, I think you need to attack a little more, don't you think? Barnes or Grealish? For me, it's Grealish all the way. That's what I went. I went with Mr. Grealish. Mane and Chilwell. Oh, sorry, I answered that. I skipped your question earlier by accident, Kobe. But yeah, so that's the main reason I didn't captain Calvert-Lewin. I still like him as an option, but those numbers are bad. Let's go to Arsenal. They have some bad. Actually, no. I wanted to pull up Manchester United because I have them. I already have 3 Manchester United players, so I don't always look at their statistics. I'm like, oh, they look, because I watch the games. I'm like, oh, they looked all right. I guess I'll keep them. Besides Martial, they at least had chances. So Martial does beat Bernardo Silva. But again, Martial is losing to Foden, Torres, Sterling, Gundogan, De Bruyne. Like, it's crazy. Bruno's able to sneak in there right amongst the top guys, pretty close behind. But Cavani, lack of minutes. He's not an FPL option, but he does beat De Bruyne for expected goals per 90 minutes over the past month. And Rashford, he doesn't even make the first page. But Rashford does beat, I don't know, Calvert-Lewin. The fact that Rashford is losing to Bernardo for expected goals, and Foden and Torres and Sterling, all other mids that I could have instead of Rashford. Obviously, I got Rashford in Gameweek 19 or Gameweek 18. Yeah, Gameweek 18. So I didn't know this was going to be the case, and I already have 3 Man City that I'm happy with. But geez, Man City just dominating everybody with these statistics. It's not even fair. So yeah, good luck, guys. Thanks, Afil. Yeah, hopefully you have a good game week. If I had to predict, I like Areola this game week. I like Stones. I like Cancelo. I think I would say 12 points between Cancelo and Stones. Areola, I'm not sure. Decent chance for 6 points there as well. I feel like all my defenders have a decent chance of getting returns. I would expect a Bruno and Rashford blank again. I would expect Gundogan to hopefully get a goal. Maybe he finally gets a penalty. Grealish, don't really know. I expect him to do something. I mean, I feel like most of my players are likely to do something. I'll probably get 3 or 4 blanks, and then out of these guys, And then this final spot here, whoever ends up taking it will probably just be a blank as well. So let's make a quick prediction for all the games. Everton, Newcastle. Again, for the reasons I just highlighted, with Everton being kind of poor attacking wise, I think I'm going to have to say Everton only win. I'm going to say 2-0. I say they just finish well and they get 2, but they probably won't create a surplus of chances or anything like that. Crystal Palace and Wolves. I think Wolves are able to take this one. Crystal Palace haven't impressed me too much. I don't think this game's anything crazy though. I think I'll say 1-0 Wolves. Man City, Sheffield United. I'm gonna say 3-0. I mean, I have to keep predicting the clean sheet, I suppose. It's just how many did City score. I would expect them to win, and there's really no telling how much they score. But 3-0 seems about right. Sheffield United probably wouldn't give up like a 4 or 5, because they are pretty good at sitting a lot of people behind the ball, and they should have some confidence coming into this game after the previous match. West Brom and Fulham. Fulham, looked very poor at times in that Brighton game. They lost the ball consistently in their own half. They couldn't beat the press of Brighton. If West Brom take that page from Brighton's book, they could do some damage here, but I don't think they'll be able to do it successfully. I don't trust the quality of West Brom at all. I think Fulham are able to sneak out a 1-goal win here. I'm going to say, I'll say 2-1. But yeah, Fulham against Brighton did not impress at all. I know they got the 0-0 draw, but if you watch the game, Fulham, that was bad. That was terrible to watch as a Areola owner, but at least they gave him some saves. Arsenal and Manchester United. So Arsenal have had some really good fixtures recently, so it's hard to judge how good they've actually been doing. And United just lost to Sheffield United. So this game, I have no clue. I'm going to say United win 2-1, and that's a pretty standard prediction, I feel like. But they're still, in terms of expected goals and in terms of the chances they create, they're still up there most of the time. They do have some bad games, but I would expect them to win. Arsenal, again, they've looked good, but I'll put it down to the fixtures. I'll say it's all fixtures, and I'll pick United. Southampton and Villa. Southampton have sort of fell off recently in terms of expected stats, with Ings not really looking as great as he has recently. It doesn't help. Like, even if they have decent or bad expected goals, they can still occasionally sneak out, a decent win with 1-0 if Ings gets the small chances. If he finishes those, I can't talk. If he finishes those when he does get them, that would be nice. But I don't think that's going to happen. So Southampton defended pretty poorly, only through 5 games. They're probably more up here, so they're like 7th worst or something like that for expected goals against. It's not great. And Aston Villa have gave up a lot of chances too, but I feel like they've had some tough matchups. And they've also been unlucky to concede when they have given up these chances. I like Aston Villa to win 2-1. Southampton has injuries, and me not being impressed with their strikers recently leads me to believe there's a decent chance of a clean sheet here, but for some reason I just think Southampton nick a goal. I had to predict something, so I predict 2-1. Chelsea, Burnley. I'm going to say I'm actually going to say I'm going to say 1-0 Chelsea. I think it's going to be close. I think they won't necessarily dominate. Leicester, Leeds. I think Leicester win 3-0, and that's pretty bold, but I think they are able to do it without Vardy. I think Leeds fall apart. They may try to press and get burned. I'm not exactly sure, but I think I'm going to go 3-0 here for Leicester. West Ham, Liverpool. I'm actually going to say I'm going to go 2-1. I think Liverpool barely sneak this win out. It's going to be close, though. West Ham are going to have chances, and if they put them away, Liverpool are going to be in trouble. Brighton and Spurs. I think Tottenham are able to get a nice 1-0 win here. Mourinho masterclass incoming. So, yeah, those are my generic predictions. Thank you guys for watching the deadline stream. I will probably end it now. I'm pretty tired, to be honest. We woke up at 4:30, so don't really have much energy. But I think the team's set up to do pretty well this week. The -8 is a bit risky. But yeah, hopefully you have a good game week. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, all that stuff if you made it this far, if you haven't already. And I will see you next time.